Okay, you're in for a treat this week. I'm going to be interviewing Ken Allen on a Zoom call. Ken's son John graduated last year from the University of Alabama with a degree in civil engineering, and then the COVID shutdown hit, and John was stuck at home trying to find his first job. So join us today as you story, the amazing story, maybe the even incredible story about how John landed his first job right out of college. Let's discuss. Hi, I'm Pat Batchelor, and this is the DIY Engineering Career Builder Podcast. With 25 years as an engineer and 10 as an engineering recruiter, I'm now stepping into the role of coach. I want to help you find a job in half the time and have fun doing it. So whether you're looking for your first job, a new job, or your dream job, I'm here to guide you to the next step. This will be fun, entertaining, educational, and empowering. I hope you'll join me. And then again, with COVID hit, all my clients were like, man, let's hold off for a month or two. And I'm like, but I started getting all these calls from engineers saying, hey, I got cut loose or things are slowed down or whatever. And so there it was again. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna dive in and try this out and see if I can help engineers take that next step. And I guess that's how I met your son, John.
Well, yeah,
I'm not sure.
it
I'm not
was,
sure how he got a hold of me or how we connected.
it was, I know, we ended up, he went to maybe a webinar you held,
Yeah.
and out of it became, clear that, you had a program to offer, and we talked about the price, and then I think I met you, but it was, and I wrote the check, right? So, but,
It was the best. It was the best money you ever spent, right?
Best money ever spent, right? I'd do it twice again, right, Pat?
Yeah, I tell my students this. I say, look, you're going to use this money, this investing this money in your career is
Yeah,
going to be way more helpful for you than differential equations.
right. That's right. That's right.
And a lot less painful.
I
Well,
should.
maybe not painful, but
You
a
should
lot
have
less painful,
develop a
more
30
fun.
hour course maybe that you teach at a university somewhere, right? About how to do
Yeah.
this, right?
Well, I'm really am starting to reach out, to folks that are close by, so either Georgia Tech or Kennesaw State here in Atlanta. But my heart's with the Aggies back in Texas. So and really these techniques work, worldwide. So it's not like anything
Right.
particular, and not even necessarily just engineering related. These are skill sets. I think we were even talking about your role there at EY, and sometimes, it just makes a difference, absolutely makes a difference these days on
Yeah.
how to conduct yourself. And so, what did he, how did he, what was his thoughts? I mean, he heard about the course. You called me up and said, Pat, why should I pay you this kind of money? I guess I convinced you that it was worthwhile. What
Well, I
was it?
mean, yeah. I mean, you find out that, there's, you have a personal story too that we talked about, but specifically with John, right? He was just, well, during his senior semester, his last senior semester,
Hmm.
COVID came along in February, and all of the career fairs were shut down.
Right.
So your typical opportunities, right, coming out of college to talk to companies at career fairs dried up and gone, just
Right.
gone. So he goes to graduation, and there's no ceremony to walk, right?
Right.
So he just, it's like, so we had a little makeshift one when he came home, and
Right. You got a little
um,
diploma. Woohoo.
yeah, yeah, we made one up, right? And he finally got his real piece of paper, and he they actually did have a makeup walking ceremony in August that we went to. So the family got to do that, and
Right.
that was good for him because that's some closure out of his years there.
Oh yeah.
And but so there was no walking, and I looked at him. I said, "Well, you're home. We got internet. You're going to have to figure out how to go find a job because they're not going to come knocking on our door looking for you, right? I know
Right.
you're good. I think you're good. You think you're good, but they're really not going to come knocking on the door."
No
you
matter
know,
how good you are.
yeah. So we started, and he used several. I would feed him any link I could, that made any sense of getting going. And
Right.
um, it was either LinkedIn, and I think it might have been LinkedIn, where you
Okay.
said, "Hey, I'm do it yourself." I didn't even notice it was do it yourself, but it was engineers, recruits. I think I keyed in a few keywords right to type in there,
Yeah.
and somehow it got to a link that you had, and
Okay.
I said, here, go, here's a webinar, go try this out, find out what. And it was kind of the intro level webinar, but when it looks like it, it's like, okay, how to improve your LinkedIn skills, right?
Right.
And I think that's what your webinar was about. And
Yeah.
he said, well, and he comes back afterwards, he says he's he's pretty good, he seems to know stuff. He's got some good methods, but of course there's a catch, Dad, where he sells a real course. And I said, well, how much is it, right? And I think it was it $5.99 or $4.99 we paid, something like that, right?
497. Man,
4.97.
what a deal.
See, I already thought it was more money.
I mean, after
Uh,
you've dropped $50,000 at the
uh,
University of Alabama, $500 is like, well, and what I tell people, there's two reasons I price it. Is one, it takes money and time and to produce the material.
sure,
But two, if people, if they, oh, I can find this on the internet for free, or I can apply online, I can just push one button and find my dream job. It's like, really? But here's the thing, if you don't spend the money, you're not going to show up and do the work. And it is work. I mean,
it is
anything
work.
worthwhile is work, right?
It is work. And I don't think people understand how much work it is until they're in that spot and they realize it's 4 weeks later and I still don't have any traction anywhere, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
you got to start realizing, okay, well, maybe I got to look at it differently. And so they either run into a friend, run into themselves, whatever it might be. I gave him your course. He went to go look at it, and he came back and he said, "Then here's the catch." He says, there's a price." And like you say, it's like, well, look, you know, if that's not that much in the grand scheme of things, right?
What I
And
tell what I tell students is, look, if you pay 500 bucks, that's one. If entry level engineers are going to make about $52,000, and it's $1,000 a week. I say you're going to get a job. If I can get you a job a week faster, you're money ahead.
right, if
And
I get if I get you
just
just
one
one
job,
job that's a
right?
week faster versus what the pace you're going, which is going to put you out, 3 more months. Is it
Right.
worth is it worth $500?
And
Right.
all of the angst involved, it's just kind of like it's a lot like um, travel agents. Travel agents, if you think you can go to, let's say, go to France or something where you don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, you don't know which hotels are good or not, you can book your own flights, your own schedule, you can do it all yourself online. You certainly can. But boy, it sure is nice and easy if you have a travel agent who gives you a map and a roadmap and says, here's the good places. We've done this enough. We trust these hotels. We entrust this service. You're going to have a great path. And then if you tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking for, they'll say, well, just for a little bit extra, we'll give you a guide who will actually walk you to each site. And then it just makes it's magic. And so I just tell people, anytime you try something that's well outside your comfort zone, like a job search, it really helps to have someone who's an engineer who goes, okay, I get it, I kind of understand that what you're looking for, and who's a recruiter and goes, that works and that doesn't work.
Yeah, what better guide could you ask for? I mean, you think about it, right? So you're in the experience, right? You go through, and I got to uh, you know ride the coattails of a couple of John sessions, right, and see
Yeah.
how it went, right? And you're in a community with other people that are going through the same experience that you are, right?
Right.
So they get to relate and they get to learn from each other if they're going to engage. yes, you're a recruiter. Yes, you understand networking. And then in addition, like we have methods, right, to help you get to decision makers, right?
Right,
Is at the end of the day, if you've never hired anybody, you've never been through a corporate hiring process, you will understand what it takes to get there.
right,
Um,
right,
and that was that's a big explanation of that. And on top of that, it's just the human piece, which is, you need someone needs they need somebody to do a job. So how do you? So it's not like they don't want to talk to people. It's like you got to go through the process. They'll be glad to talk to somebody if they feel like got a shot at it, right?
right. Absolutely. And just having the hope. And what was interesting was is when John joined the class, I say there's three steps, or four steps, but the first step is you got to have a good resume. And most kids know that. They have a good resume. But then you got to have a great LinkedIn profile. And the reason I say that is because this day and age, over the last 10 years, since LinkedIn has really grown and become more influential, everybody looks at it as kind of your professional, online resume is what a lot of people think about it. I look at it and say, it's not a resume. It's not boring. This is can be as exciting as your creativity can make it
It's
because people
marketing.
100% of the time, if they see your resume, they're going to go to your LinkedIn profile and go, is he any good?
Yeah, right. It's marketing, right? That's really what it is, right?
it's
And
it's
it's
absolutely it's targeted marketing.
and
Yes,
that's what it
absolutely.
is. So there's a difference between a resume, right? And then how do you catch someone's eye and get a sense of, oh, this is, and relate to, and quickly relate with graphics, pictures, whatever it might be, that this is somebody that's going to be potentially a good fit. Because I
Right.
have to make the investment of my time to interview, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just follows up. And I tell people, I said, look, LinkedIn can either be your best friend when you're looking for a job, or if you look at it as just a boring resume, it'll be a noose around your neck. I'd say it's better to not have a LinkedIn profile than have one that's done poorly.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's how we present yourself to the world. It's like, you show up at an interview in shorts, cut off shorts, a wife beater shirt, and you haven't shaved in 5 days, and you're just like, "Can I have a job?" And they're like, "No,
No, it's
no,"
yeah.
it.
So I guess I hadn't even thought about that. I didn't think I had to worry about that with John. That you're going to go on an interview, you got to have an image and a presence, and
Yeah,
it's just manners and courtesy, right? Some
correct.
people probably might not have that, and maybe you have to do a little
Well,
reschooling.
we all are engineers, and most of us we think differently. We think, well, if I can solve the problem, then they're going to
Yeah,
want me. And
of
I'm like,
course.
you know,
Yeah. Do you think that's
it,
all they want? Do you think that's all they want from you? Is just somebody who's going to solve a math problem or whatever
no,
it's going to be?
they want someone who's going to fit in on their team, who's going to be fun to work with, and is
Yeah.
also very competent at the skills that they've learned, and that they're going to grow and add to the value to the team. Yeah, it's
So I
it's
think John's experience was really, in that regard, it was very positive. I even, some of the stuff I learned in a couple sessions I thought was extremely powerful, which I think it was the graphics behind your name, right? That slot that's open, and
yeah.
and you pointed that out, and I forget I might have missed the week you pointed it out, but the next week, one of John's your students that in John's class
Yeah,
done this really cool, had that pipeline, had that whole refinery infrastructure
it
behind
was
there.
so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
The
It
colors.
was not just cool, it was so cool that you go, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, I mean, your
And
eye went straight to it and said,
straight
wow.
to it. Yeah, absolutely. Went straight to it. And and John really did a fine job on his as well. And then that was the first weeks. Get your LinkedIn profile, make it look as good as you can. Because I just tell people, look, it's worth, you know, it's at least worth 1,000 times more than your resume. Because once you get a job, you stick it in the folder, nobody ever sees it. But your LinkedIn profile is putting your image out there day after day, 24/7 with your peers with your boss, with your competitors, with your potential clients if you're trying to sell someone.
Yeah.
So, I just tell, look, if you want to be a professional engineer, you got to worry about your image. And that's the place where you're holding out, and it's up to you. You get to have it as sharp or as shoddy as you want it to be.
Right. I have learned that every job, out of the number of job opportunities, roughly 10% are gotten through just the job application, get past the screening, 20% is done through LinkedIn, but the remaining 70% is
Yeah, absolutely.
entirely networking, right?
Well, and and here's the thing is that that other 70% are the jobs that are not posted, that are not
Yeah,
advertised.
right.
So it's the hidden job market. It's, when the boss walks in and goes, hey, we've got a hole in our market, or hey guys, we just want a cool project. Woohoo. And they say, well, we've got 5 more roles that we need to fill. Does anybody know someone who's good?
Yeah,
And the reason they do that is, because it's cheaper, and they already have it. If you recommend someone, you're putting kind of your own reputation on how well they're going to fit into the team and how well they're going to perform.
yeah.
So
I think the acid test on any anything that you believe in and believe is great is if you will refer it to your friends,
it's
right?
gold. It's
and
gold.
and, and because so that tells you how far you have to go in believing in something to put your personal reputation on the line to sell
Right.
somebody, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it was so interesting. So first week he did that. And then I said, okay, now that you're ready to go to market, so to speak, I said, you got a great LinkedIn profile. Let's take the second step and start identifying companies that you want to talk to. Because if 70% of the jobs are if 70% of the jobs are not even advertised, you just go, well, how do I find these people? How do I know
Yeah,
what's there?
right.
And so we identified that. And what was so funny was the third week he came to class and he was like, well, Pat, I saw this really great job opening. I think it's got my name written on it. And I was like, okay, great. Who is it? And I've been in Atlanta for 30 years. And I was like, it's my job to know every civil engineer and every structural engineer in Georgia. That's my
Right.
job. You could just say, look, I know everybody. Well, leave it up to your son to find a company I'd never heard of. I was just like, what? And I was just like, who is it? And he goes, oh, it's this company down in South Atlanta. I was like, all right, let me look them up. We looked them up together on the screen, and I went, probably going to be him, or yeah, those two. That's it. And I said, just reach out to him. And I guess I'd like to hear your story, how that went. Did he tell you how that went?
Well, yeah, and it's a classic sort of, he's processing it and he's thinking how he's going to do it, and I'm not sure if it's procrastination, which I would say it can come, some of that this probably comes by honestly, right?
Got to build up some emotional
Yeah.
capacity to just lean in.
And I said, I was sitting there, I said, well, just ring him up, okay, or do something in LinkedIn, do something and reach out to him. I
Right.
said, if it's a small firm and they're looking for people, somebody's going to do something. And he did. And he's sitting there talking to me. I said, well, he'll probably read it, in the next hour or so or whatever. And he might even call you back. And he goes, yeah. He goes, he just called like 3 minutes ago and I had the phone on silent.
What?
What? You better
Note
call
to
him
self, if you send out a connection request, turn your phone on.
Yeah, you might want to turn your phone in case someone actually does call you, right?
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah,
So
it was
then
it
what
was
happened?
that quick, and he was really surprised, right?
Shocked, I think. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
and what did it, how'd that conversation go? Why did he call him?
Because, well, somehow John knew through one of these job boards that somebody had looked at his resume, and in
Oh,
fact,
okay.
he got some flag that somebody had looked at his resume 3 or 4 times, And he said, but and that's how he found this job board, and he found this company. And so he went to go
Okay.
check him out,
Yeah.
and found out they were that they had were checking out his resume. And he goes, "Who are these people?" So he checks them out, and I kept saying, "Well, why don't you go look them up in LinkedIn and find out who they are, and maybe you can contact somebody." And he just, meanwhile, we just wait, and we think something else is going to happen. I don't really know, but
Right.
he, I said, and I think it came back to us like, go ahead and do it. And so that when it was the president of the company, because it's a small firm, right?
Right.
Small firm, and he calls him up and he goes, "Yep." He goes, "Thanks for reaching out." And he goes, "We are looking for people." And I think that's all it really took was John taking the action, because the guy's like, "Well, hell, we're looking. We've been looking at his resume. And now he's calling me." And that's how quick it happened. And then it was like, "Oh, let's have a conversation." He talked about some things, and then next thing you know, they went for an interview, and he went down, met two people, maybe three,
Yeah.
and came back. And so his big dilemma at that point is, well, it turned into an offer, and he's like, this is that. Now it's like, okay, company, I could do the work, I like it. But it's now South Atlanta, and then he's got to figure out his lifestyle, where he's going to do,
Right.
and it turned out to be he has made that decision, and he's living with it, and he loves it. He's having a good time with it. I mean, of
Isn't
course, he's
that
getting
cool?
started in life, right?
So
He's
cool.
he
And
started up. They signed him up for a 4 year. The 4 year commitment. They will get him a PE. They will get him on his PE. He's already signed up for, is it the EIT these days, or whatever it is that
yeah.
you have to go through, but you're signed up for, and they sponsor you. They sponsored him in the first week.
Wow. Well, that's just so exciting, and in the real, and sometimes it takes a while to kind of generate that emotional strength to say, okay, I'm going to try, and just and 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 I tell people, I say, there's different ways to reach out and connect, but one way is just to pick up the phone and call. And I said, here's the thing, and I kind of teach this in my 1 in 1,000 courses. You don't know whether they are just dying and go, man, we just wish somebody would show up and be the right person. We oftentimes tend to think, oh, they're busy, they don't want to talk to me, I'm not good enough, da 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 da. And and neither one of those are really true. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But if you don't make a call, they're not going to have any idea who you are. And and I tell people the reason why I say it's 1 in 1,000 is I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. And I've had literally 10,000 people apply online for jobs that I post. And I've maybe have only had maybe 10 or 15 people call me up and go, hey, Pat, I applied for a job this morning online. I was just curious. I'm not sure if it was the right fit, but I was just curious. Did you, one, see my resume? Because there's a lot of times I don't ever see them, because all LinkedIn or all Indeed gives me is a name and where you worked and maybe how many years experience. They don't even show a resume. So I was like, the answer is always no, I haven't seen your resume, no matter
Yeah.
how good you are.
Yeah.
And and I'm busy. I've got other things going on, and I may have 5 or 6 jobs, and there may be in different orders of importance, how much the client wants. So there may be jobs where people apply on a job, and I may not see it for a week, 2 or 3 weeks, and this is my own money. I always have to be careful about this because my wife's going, you pay for stuff and you don't look at it, and I'm like, so, I mean, these aren't company monies. This is Pat Bachelor's money. And if I'm paying money and I don't see a resume because I'm working on another project at that particular point, it go on Indeed, it goes from, 30, 15 people applied to 16 people to 17 people. I wouldn't even know it. So only to have 10 people call me, it happens so rarely. And I'm a recruiter, so they should be absolutely calling me because I'm the person who theoretically can help them go place to place.
Right.
But a company like you're talking about, they're down in South Atlanta. It's hard to attract people down to the south side of town just because of the location, and it's a little bit more rural than maybe what's on the north side. But so they're really, if they're advertising, they're paying real money just like I am. They're hoping they can attract someone to move down to
Right.
the south side of town.
Right.
And so, but they don't know exactly, well, and so just the initiation, I just say, look, if you'll just initiate and just hit connect with them on LinkedIn, and then if they do connect, it's just a virtual handshake.
Right.
And then you just call them up. And there's a fine line between being audacious and being obnoxious.
Yeah.
you know, but if they're advertising, they absolutely, will want to hear from you. So
Well,
uh,
even if, if they're not, if it's something you like, and, when you're starting out, it's hard to know what you like. And the other part is when you're first starting out, you have no idea what it's like to be a general manager of any kind in this company, and you need to hire people. And it's not like you're just sitting around and saying, oh, I need to hire people. And oh, I have 6 positions I need to fill, which is, oh, I don't know, probably going to be 18, 24 interviews by the time it's all said and done, right? Maybe
right,
less, but
right,
and then how many resumes you have to go through. And I'll just do this, and I'll get the recruiter, get them on the phone, have them come over here, and they'll come in the next day with 150 resumes. And I'm just, that's not the way it works. Oh, let's see, I have a crisis. I have this I have to do. My boss is calling about this. Oh, I'm on vacation for a week. And then I come back and we have the day off and somebody's sick. And it's like, in that process, I might get the time to go look at resumes that somebody's put together in front of me, right?
right.
I might. And
Maybe.
maybe. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes on. So it's not like it's just a full-time job to hire people. I mean, I know
No.
recruiters do that to screen, but they don't make the hiring decisions. So the hiring decisions are the managers, right?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely. Well,
that's all very important stuff, the relationship building, right? And understanding that,
yeah,
the networking, right?
yeah,
After a while, it becomes a very personal decision, meaning people, right? And my
yeah,
point is people, and you can go to people, and that's about your network. Somebody I've met in this whole networking process, he wasn't a recruiter that I was ever going through, but I knew he was a recruiter. He was an acquaintance through the family. And he said, look, he finally said, if you've ever got any questions on a company, he said, come to me. He goes, he says, this is not bragging. He says, but I've got like 1,800 connections. He goes, I know everybody in this town, just like everybody in Atlanta or Georgia that's in the civil engineering firm in his
yeah,
realm. He said, I know everything that's going on. He says, not only that, I know when the initiatives are starting for these companies
right.
because they're hiring, because they have this project or that project or whatever it's going to be,
Yeah,
and they're funding, $30 million into this, and they need to hire to get it done. It's like, and so that's where they start looking for people, right? Either moving or they need the skill sets, they need to build it up. And
yeah,
that's invaluable. You think about it, right? It's,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, recruiters kind of, some people look at them like used car salesmen. Hey, anything I can say to get you to, switch jobs or take an interview. And I just go, well, there may be some truth to that. It's not kind of how I work, but they are connectors, and they do know, not just about one job, but they may say, well, you're not quite the right fit for this one, but there's 5 or 6 other firms, other opportunities as well.
but they,
So it just depends, and you have to kind of learn that process. But being connected with recruiters is one of the types of people that you certainly want to be intentional about connecting with,
yeah, I
especially if
mean,
they're in your niche. Yeah,
yeah, they have the pulse of the community, right? They
yeah,
they they know what's going on, and that's
yeah.
probably because they not only do they know who's hiring, they know who's letting go, right?
Right, right.
So it
Or
ends up in their hands, like
which company you go, look, I'm just giving you advice here. Don't go work for that company, or sometimes it's our company because that guy's a real jerk. uh, uh, you know, they're engineers. I mean, well, well, Ken, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it online and as a success story, and hopefully other people, will gain insight from just this conversation. They'll go, oh, one of the hardest things to do this day and age is just get noticed. It really is. It's hard to get noticed because it's like, stay at home. We don't want you breathing on us. So it's hard to get noticed, no matter how good you are. So.
Yeah, well, I think, that's another thing you had some good techniques on. So I think there was a lot to learn. And it's not about engineering, right? It's about understanding the interviewing process, the hiring process, who's looking for what. There's
Right.
the actual environment, the companies that are in the area, right? That you have.
Right.
But how do you get to someone to take notice? How do they come up? How do you like, thing? What was that thing? And
Right.
look at there. It's like,
Yeah.
I'll never forget John's reaction when he looked and said, "Oh God, he just called."
They've already called me. Whoa.
Yeah. So that was a real salient, teachable moment, I think.
So exciting. So exciting. Yeah. Well, good deal. Right. Well, Ken, take care and appreciate your time today. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Every episode, my goal is to make this podcast fun, entertaining, educational, and empowering. If you've enjoyed the podcast today, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Visit DIYEJS.com/2021 checklist. If you would like to get a checklist on how to make your LinkedIn profile awesome. All right, have a great week and happy job hunting. See you next time.